Welcome to our Mr. Jack channel. Get ready to feel the thrill with scary stories and mysteries that will get your heart racing. Don't forget to subscribe for more horror stories. It was a tense night in an old hospital that was still in operation even though parts of the building had long been neglected. Dinah, a young nurse on night duty, is assigned to check the isolation floor at the top of the building, an area that is almost never touched. Accompanied only by the sound of her footsteps on the tiled floor and the dim shadows of flickering lights, Dana makes her way down a dark hallway that feels like it has no end. Suddenly, her ears caught the soft sound of a woman crying, drifting softly amongst the hanging silence. At first, Dinah tried to think logically. Probably a lost patient, she thought. However, the closer she got to the origin of the sound, the cries turned into a low, sinister laugh. The air around her felt colder and colder, and she unconsciously grabbed her neck, feeling the goosebumps rise. At the end of the hallway, she saw the shadowy figure of a woman in a white dress. Her long hair fell over her face. The figure stood still, leaving Dinah rooted to the spot, her body feeling heavy as if it was being pulled into the darkness. When her courage disappeared, Dinah tried to turn around to run. However, suddenly the lights in the entire hallway went out, leaving her in pitch darkness. Her heart raced, and she tried to feel her way. As soon as the lights came back on, the woman in white was right in front of her. Her face was full of blank stares, her smile a creepy grin, as if enjoying Dinah's fear. A scream caught in Dinah's throat before her body went limp and her vision blurred. The next morning, Dinah was found by her colleagues lying on the floor. Her face was deathly pale, and her body was shaking uncontrollably. With a trembling voice, Dinah could only say, "She's there. She won't leave." Until now, the dark hallway on the isolation floor is known as a haunted place, where the sound of crying is often heard, as if waiting for the next victim. In one corner of an old, almost forgotten hospital, there is an operating room that is now locked up tight and never used again. Years ago, the room bore witness to a terrible tragedy. A patient lost his life due to a fatal mistake during surgery. This mysterious death left a dark story, making the room considered cursed by the hospital staff. Rumors of strange sounds and mysterious shadows around the room continue to circulate. Curiosity led Armin, an interning medical student, to challenge the creepy stories. One night, armed with courage and curiosity, he decided to enter the forbidden room. The atmosphere inside was tense, the cold air piercing even though there was no open ventilation. When the lights were turned on, his gaze immediately fell on the operating table in the center of the room, still leaving red-brown stains like blood marks that could never disappear. But the real horror was just beginning. Suddenly, the room lights went out, leaving Armin in pitch darkness. The sound of footsteps sounded soft but grew closer, as if someone was walking towards him. Armin felt his shoulder being touched gently, but when he turned around, there was no one there. His fear peaked as he looked into the mirror in the corner of the room. The image of a doctor in a blood-soaked operating gown stared at him from behind the reflection. The figure opened its mouth and said in a hoarse, echoing voice, "I'm still here, to finish my last surgery." Armin ran out of the room with his body trembling and breathing heavily. The events of that night made him sick the next day, with a high fever that persisted for several days. He never shared the details of his experience, but from then on, he refused to set foot in the hospital. The operating room remains locked, a mystery that continues to make the hairs stand up every time the story is told. In an old hospital, creepy stories of a haunted delivery room have long circulated among the staff. Many claim to hear the sound of a baby crying at night, even though there were no patients in labor. The sound always appears at the same time, around 2 a.m. Rini, a senior midwife who had worked at the hospital for decades, was disturbed by the story. With her remaining courage, she decided to investigate the truth. One lonely night, Rini stood guard alone. At exactly 2 a.m., the sound of the baby crying was heard again. The sound came clearly from the dark delivery room. Cautiously, Rini opened the door and stepped inside. Her gaze fell on one of the incubators in the corner of the room. Inside, she saw the faint shadow of a crying baby. However, when Rini got closer, the shadow suddenly disappeared. Even so, the sound of the baby's crying grew louder, as if it filled the entire room. As fear began to haunt her, Rini decided to leave the room. But her steps stopped when she saw a woman in a white dress standing in front of the door. The woman had a big belly, like an expectant mother. With a sharp gaze full of anger, the woman said in a hoarse voice, "Give me back my son." Rini was transfixed, her body stiff, and before she could react, the figure disappeared like mist in the wind. The next day, Rini researched the history of the delivery room from the hospital archives. She found out that decades ago, a mother died while giving birth in the room due to medical negligence. The baby could not be saved. Since then, many have reported the sound of a baby crying in the delivery room, as if the baby that was never born continues to search for its mother. To this day, the room symbolizes an unforgettable tragedy, sending chills down the spine of anyone on night watch there.